You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters. Well, my goodness, that came out of nowhere, did it not? And I'm talking about Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears. When it looked like all the momentum, all the air was being sucked out of the room by Tom Brady and the Las Vegas Raiders and Ben Johnson, all of a sudden there was a not so fast, all that news about him maybe not wanting to coach Caleb Williams. Maybe he didn't want to coach against Dan Campbell because of loyalty. Maybe he didn't want to coach in that division, although the Raiders division is no walk in the park. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid, along with a Patrick Mahomes thrown in, Justin Herbert, it wasn't going to be a breeze in either division. But nonetheless, the Bears got their guy, all right? And let's just take a look before we get on to the Raiders, because this is a mess officially now. Although, remember, we talked about Pete Carroll being their number 2 choice if that didn't happen. And the understanding now is the Bears or the Raiders are wanting to pivot to somebody that's got head coaching experience. Guys, Ron Rivera is being brought up right now. That's not great. And I will offer a different name, but I don't know that there's no rumors around the guy right now. So Adam Schefter, bear down. Chicago's finalizing a deal to hire Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as its next head coach, sources tell ESPN. Bears are getting their man. Just remember what I've said, you've heard me say, these hotshot offensive coordinators, Josh McDaniels ring a bell to anybody? Just saying, they don't always work out. All right, Norv Turner didn't work out. One of the greatest offensive coordinators the league's ever seen. Chicago fights off Raiders and lands Ben Johnson. As you can imagine, wow. I mean, this guy right here says horrific decision by Ben Johnson. Mike McCarthy's going to Chicago. No, he's not. No, he's not. Says the Bears actually have a quarterback. It was never much of a fight. Well, there's one thing that's very clear now. You will know whether or not Caleb Williams is the guy, I would guess, by the end of next season. Question is, if he's not the guy, will the Bears actually pivot? It's going to be interesting. Probably the right move. Chicago has some promising offensive pieces to work with. Well, look, Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers, that's not crap. But I get the point. There's some other guys with the Bears that are pretty good right now. Now what for the Raiders? Well, that's the big question, right? That is the big question. The Raiders seem to be gaining on the Bears in the race to hire Johnson. No, they ain't. Las Vegas Review-Journal reported that there was a lot of momentum building for the Lions offensive coordinator in Vegas, but ultimately he spurned the Raiders for a chance to work with Caleb Williams. With Johnson, who presumably the Raiders' number 1 coaching candidate, no longer available, Las Vegas will pivot to another candidate to replace Antonio Pierce. Below is a list of the candidates they have interviewed so far this offseason besides Ben Johnson. Pete Carroll, all right, been a lot of rumors about him being the number 2 guy there. Aaron Glenn, well, there's some shine off Aaron Glenn. I mean, right now you got Jets fans that are in a little bit of a panic thinking the Jets are going to hire Aaron Glenn after he just got drove. Like in, I think, 5 of the last 6 games of the season, his defense just fell apart. Vance Joseph, yikes. Todd Monken, that's interesting. I mean, Ravens offensive coordinator. In fact, there was a little tidbit thrown out earlier that I picked up on about Todd Monken and Justin Fields in a team-up situation with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, what would that look like? Well, you got a guy that just constructed the offense that had Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, right? So you're thinking running quarterback and Todd Monken put together, and I can understand that sort of an idea. I tell you another guy that nobody's brought up and it'll take him a couple more years back in the league to get into the fray. Greg Roman would be a guy I would take a look at too. He is, of course, always been Jim Harbaugh's offensive coordinator for the most part. Ron Rivera, just putting this out there, but Ron Rivera is a Rooney Rule checked off the box. Okay, he is. Robert Saleh, I think that's actually an interesting name. Steve Spagnuolo, the DC for the Chiefs, he's now back in the mix, right? So, Ben Johnson goes to Chicago. What does it mean? This is, of course, Silver and Black Pride.com. He brings up the one guy I would be talking about. All right. The current rumors are leading candidate for the general manager's job is Tampa Bay's John Spytek. We talked about him the other day, who has ties to Tom Brady. Perhaps that could put Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Coen in play. Now, you guys know I've been talking about him as a guy I would look at. I would have looked at even maybe besides Ben Johnson. All right. I mean, Baker Mayfield had 42 total touchdowns this year. 42. All right. Baker was an MVP candidate. There's guys in college that are interesting, I think, that you might not just automatically spend a massive high draft pick for. Then, of course, Bill Belichick, Deion Sanders. And right now, I mean, look, Raiders fans, I think it could actually be worse because the Cowboys may be fixing to hire Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach. Yikes. All right. The only thing that I think could bring a shiver of fear with Raiders fans worse than that might be Ron Rivera. I'm shocked by how much actual interest he's got. Now, question is, as we sit here and talk out loud about the Raiders coaching situation, which is now up in the air, Mike McCarthy, does he come into play all of a sudden? Right? Won a hell of a lot of games with the Dallas Cowboys. And some have wondered, could he pivot back around and come back to the Cowboys? John Gruden is still without a job, folks. Mark Davis still loves John Gruden. And I think that would be a name you would be hearing a lot more about if Tom Brady wasn't in the building now. All right? I just have a feeling Tom Brady's not going to go there. And I think that's why Gruden hadn't gotten an interview with the Raiders. Yeah, I said it because I think Mark Davis would have done it. I do. So you got to wonder where they go now. Gut feeling, probably Pete Carroll, but who knows? One of their other major candidates, and we all knew this, was Mike Vrabel. And Mike Vrabel literally told Tom Brady, because Tom called him about the job, Vrabel told him, well, I'm going to the Patriots. Nobody saw Ben Johnson to the Bears coming. I mean, yeah, Bears fans kept talking it up, but, I mean, the Bears had almost become a side note, and they had interviewed what seemed like 57 candidates. And then they got Ben Johnson. Question is, are we going to be sitting here 3 years from now going, the Raiders dodged a bullet? Because I just have this strange feeling, all right, about that whole hire with the Bears and how that's going to go. Tell me what you think. Who is Tom Brady going to get now? Got left at the altar for the Bears. Ugh. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.